Imagine this. It's Tuesday morning. You are already exhausted, running late, and stressed out of your mind. You sit by the door, yank your shoelaces to tie them, and snap. The lace breaks in half. It's the most trivial, stupid thing in the world. But in this moment, it breaks you. You punch the floor. You have to unlace the boot, dig through your closet for another pair of shoes, and force them on. It costs you exactly 6 minutes. 6 agonizing minutes of pure, unfiltered frustration. You finally get to your office building, mentally preparing to get yelled at by your boss. But as you push through the revolving doors into the lobby, you freeze. The express elevator you take every single morning at exactly 8:05 a.m. had a catastrophic system failure. It dropped 2 stories and jammed deep inside the concrete shaft. The people inside are trapped in pitch darkness, packed shoulder to shoulder, having panic attacks in a metal box. It's going to take firefighters 9 hours to cut them out. You look at your watch. It's 8:11 a.m. If your shoelace hadn't snapped, if you hadn't lost those exact 6 minutes sitting on your apartment floor, you would be trapped in that dark box right now, losing your mind. We call this the burnt toast theory. The idea that the small, stupid, annoying things that go wrong in your day, the broken lace, the spilled coffee, the missed bus, might actually be quietly moving you out of the way of something much worse. But here is the question nobody asks out loud. Is something out there actually looking after you? Or is your brain just very, very good at making up stories, so you don't have to sit with how scary and random life actually is? To answer that, I want to tell you about Sol. Sol was 26. For the past 3 years, Sol had been working a job that paid the bills and nothing more. You know the type. You show up, do the work, go home. You don't hate it, but you don't feel anything either. Like eating plain food every single day. It keeps you alive, but there's no taste to it. Sol had been stuck in that gray space for 3 years, just waiting for something to change. Then one evening, a letter arrived from a company in a city called Oren. Oren was 3 days to the east. Sol had never been there, never had a reason to go. But this company had seen Sol's work online and offered a real job, the kind where you actually use what you're good at. Sol read the letter 4 times and said yes before even finishing it. That was 2 months ago. Since then, Sol had been saving money, leaving the old job, saying slow goodbyes, and packing everything into one bag. And now this morning was finally the day. Everything was ready. The bag was packed. The route was planned. Every stop written down in a small notebook. Because Sol wasn't the type to figure it out later. Sol planned everything. Planning felt like control, and control felt safe. Sol picked up the bag and the strap snapped. Just like that. Before the journey even started, Sol had to unpack everything, find another bag, and repack it all again from scratch. It was messy, annoying, the kind of small problem that ruins your mood before the day has even begun. And here is something worth knowing about your brain. When something goes wrong early in the day, your brain doesn't treat it as one small problem. It treats it like a warning sign, a preview of how the whole day is going to go. It whispers, today is going to be that kind of day. Psychologists call this negativity bias. Your brain remembers bad things more strongly than good ones. It was useful when your ancestors needed to remember where the dangerous animals were. Right now, it's just making Sol feel like the whole journey is already cursed before it started. Sol finally finished repacking, threw the bag over one shoulder, and walked out the door. 14 minutes behind schedule. Not a big deal in the real world, but in Sol's mind, already a disaster. Sol reached the river and saw the ferry leaving. Not close, not almost, just gone. Moving into the morning fog like Sol didn't even exist. Sol stood at the end of the dock and watched it disappear. The next ferry was tomorrow morning. 1 full day lost. Sol found a small inn nearby and stayed the night, and then did what we all do when something goes wrong. replayed everything: the strap, the delay, the ferry, again and again, trying to find the exact moment where it could have been different. Because here's what your brain does when things fall apart. It goes back. It searches. It tries to find the moment where you were in control. Because your brain would much rather believe that you made a mistake than believe that some things are just completely out of your hands. A mistake means you can do better next time. Randomness means there is no lesson, no pattern, just chaos. And the human brain is genuinely terrified of chaos. So it keeps searching, even when there is nothing left to find. Soul fell asleep somewhere around midnight, still turning it all over in their head. Next morning, Soul was eating quietly at the inn when two guests at the nearby table mentioned the ferry. Soul wasn't really listening until one word cut through everything. Ferry. Soul looked up. The innkeeper was shaking her head slowly. The ferry from yesterday had run aground in the fog during the night. It hit a shelf of rock that didn't show on any map. Nobody drowned, but every single passenger was stuck on a sandbar in the middle of the river. In the cold, in the dark, for 11 hours waiting for rescue boats to find them, Soul went completely still. 11 hours, cold, dark, packed together on a sandbar in the middle of a river. Soul slowly looked down at the broken strap still sitting on the table from the day before. 14 minutes. That is all the difference there was. Not happy, not relieved, just still. The kind of still that happens when something lands in your chest so quietly and so heavily that your whole body just stops. And this is the moment where something shifts inside the brain, because now it starts connecting everything: the strap, the delay, the ferry, the sandbar, and it draws one straight line through all of them, a line that says, something moved me out of the way. Psychologists call this pattern recognition. We are wired to find connections between things, because a world with a pattern is a world that feels survivable. So our brains build the pattern, even when they have to reach a little to do it. Soul paid for the room, picked up the bag, and walked to the morning ferry with something completely different in their chest. Not lighter, exactly, just quietly, unexpectedly amazed. Day 2 felt different from the start. Soul joined a small group of travelers heading toward the same mountain pass, the only route into Oran from this side. They walked together, shared food, talked a little. Something in Soul had loosened overnight. Some tight thing in the chest that had been there for months. Then the trader's cartwheel cracked on a rocky patch of road. The whole group stopped. Fixing it took everyone working together, squinting in the afternoon sun, nobody quite sure what they were doing. 37 minutes gone. And Soul noticed something. The delay didn't feel like a problem this time. Almost automatically, Soul's brain went, I wonder what this is moving me away from. This is what happens once your brain has lived through one burnt toast moment. It updates itself. It builds a new pattern. The pattern that says, sometimes the inconvenience is the protection. And once that idea is in there, your brain starts looking for it everywhere. This is not always a good thing. We will come back to that. But on this road, in this moment, it felt like a quiet kind of peace. The wheel was fixed. The group kept walking. They entered the mountain pass an hour later than planned, and halfway through, they found all the travelers who had gone ahead of them stopped, sitting on rocks and bags at the side of the path. A section of the cliff above had given way, a rock slide fresh enough that the dust was still hanging in the air. If the group had arrived an hour earlier, they would have walked right underneath it. Soul stood and looked at the rocks, then at the trader's cart, then at the group. Nobody said anything, but Soul saw it on every face, that same quiet stillness. That night, sitting at the edge of the camp with the lights of Oran glowing small and warm in the valley below, Soul let a question come all the way in. What if I was never in control of any of this? Not in a scary way, in a soft way, like putting something heavy down. Because if a broken bag strap and a cracked cartwheel had both quietly moved Sewell away from things Sewell never even saw coming. What about everything before this journey? The job that went nowhere for 3 years, that felt like wasted time, but actually paid for the months of saving and built the portfolio that reached Oren. The relationship that ended and felt like loss, but created the quiet space Saul needed to figure out what actually mattered. All of it, at the time, just felt like burnt toast. Small, stupid, painful things going wrong at the worst possible moment. But from here, looking at those lights, it looked different. Sewell couldn't draw a clean line through all of it, couldn't prove anything, but it felt like something. And sitting there, Sewell decided maybe that feeling itself is worth something. The next day, Sewell arrived in Oren and sat at a small outdoor cafe. An older merchant at the next table noticed Sewell staring at nothing the way travelers do when they've just arrived somewhere and haven't fully landed yet. "Long journey?" he asked. Sewell laughed. "The first real one, in days." "You have no idea." And then Sewell told him everything. The strap, the ferry, the wheel, the rock slide, all of it. The merchant listened without interrupting, then was quiet for a moment, then said, "I've had many delays in my life. Most of them meant absolutely nothing, just bad luck, nothing more. But a handful of them felt exactly like what you're describing, like something shifted. Those are the ones I still remember." He paused and added, "The hard part is, you can never tell which kind it is while you're still inside it. You only know on the other side." Sewell sat with that for a long time, because here is the part of this that nobody likes to say out loud, because it is less comfortable and less poetic. Not every broken strap is protection. Not every delay is a hidden gift. Not every bad morning is secretly the universe doing you a favor. Sometimes the toast is just burnt. Sometimes you are late because you didn't manage your time. Sometimes the bad thing is just a bad thing, and wrapping it in meaning is how you avoid looking at what actually needs to change. The burnt toast theory becomes a trap the moment it becomes a reason to stop taking responsibility for anything. The merchant stood to leave and added one last thing, almost to himself. "But when one of the real ones finds you, you'll know, because you won't be able to forget it." Then he walked away down the street. Sewell never found out why that strap broke. But Sewell stopped needing to. And now, back to you, sitting on that floor, lace in your hand, 6 minutes gone. You didn't know what those 6 minutes were doing. You weren't supposed to. You're not meant to see the whole picture from inside the frame. Maybe something out there moved for you today. Maybe your brain is just very good at finding stories in the noise. Maybe, honestly, probably, it's a little bit of both. But what if the next time something small breaks, before the spiral starts, you gave yourself just 1 second to think, what if this is the thread that was supposed to snap? Not because everything has a meaning, but because sometimes that one thought is the difference between falling apart on the floor and walking out the door anyway. The ferry comes again tomorrow. Maybe that one was always meant for you. If this story settled somewhere in your chest, hit like. It helps more people find it. And if you know someone sitting on their floor right now holding their own broken lace, send this to them. Subscribe if you want to keep walking. The next stop is already waiting.